Therefore, demons give up the so-called happiness of family life and simply take shelter under those feet of the Lord. That is the Mahadev, which is the actual shelter of fearlessness. Entanglement in family life is a root cause of material attachment. Indefatigable desires, moroseness, anger, despair, fear, and desire for false prestige, all of which result in repetition of birth and death. Words by residents of Jambudweep. Oh.
So it is, a bit of a tanglement. But the solution is to be Krishna conscious,
Generally, a person living a family becomes overly attached to fruitive activity. In other words, he tries to enjoy the results of his activities. A devotee, however, knows that Krishna is a supreme enjoyer and a supreme proprietor. Bhaktaraha yagna tapasyam sarva lokamaheshwaram, 529 Bhagavad Gita. Consequently, the devotee does not consider himself the proprietor of any occupation. The devotee always thinks of the Supreme Personality Godhead as a proprietor. Therefore, the results of the business are offered to the Supreme Lord. One who lives in this material world with his family and children never become affected by the contaminations of the material world. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. One who tries to enjoy the results of these activities becomes bound by the results. One who offers the results or profits to the Supreme Personality Godhead, however, does not become entangled in the results. This is a secret of success. Generally, people take sannyas to become free from the reactions of fruitive activity. One who does not receive the results of his actions, but offers them instead to the Supreme Personality Godhead, certainly remains in a liberated condition. In Bhakti Rasmita Sindhu, Sri Rupa Goswami confirms this. If one engages himself in the service of the Lord through his life, wealth, words, intelligence, and everything he possesses, he will always be liberated in any condition. Such a person is called a jivan mukta, one who is liberated during this lifetime. Devoid of Krishna consciousness, those who engage in material activities simply become more entangled in the material bondage. They have to suffer and enjoy the actions and reactions of all activity. This Krishna conscious move is therefore the greatest boon to humanity because it keeps one always engaged in Krishna's service. The devotees think Krishna, act for Krishna, eat for Krishna, sleep for Krishna, and work for Krishna. Thus, everything is engaged in the service of Krishna. A total life in Krishna consciousness saves one from material contamination. As said by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, if one is just so expert that he can engage everything or dovetail everything in the service of the Lord, to give up the material world would be a great blunder. One should there learn how to dovetail everything in the service of the Lord, for everything is connected to Krishna. That is the real purpose of life and the secret of success, as reiterated later in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita 3:19. Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty. But by working without attachment, one attains the supreme. The 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita specifically considers material activities for the purpose of sense gratification and material activities for the purpose of satisfying the Supreme Lord. The conclusion is that these are not one and the same. Material activities for sense gratification are the cause of material bondage, whereas the very same activities for the satisfaction of Krishna are the cause of liberation. How the same activity can be the cause of bondage and liberation can be explained as follows. Or make it indigestion due to eating too many milk preparations, condensed milk, sweet rice, and so on. But even though there is indigestion or diarrhea, another milk preparation, yogurt mixed with black pepper and salt, will immediately cure these maladies. In other words, one milk preparation can cause indigestion and diarrhea, and another milk preparation can cure them. If one is placed in material opulence due to the special mercy of the Supreme Personality Godhead, he should not consider that the opulence is a cause of bondage. Where a mature devotee is blessed with material opulence, he does not become affected. adversely. For one knows how to employ material opulence in the service of the Lord. There are so many examples in the history of the world. There were kings like Ritu Maharaj, Pralab Maharaj, Janaka, Dhruva, Vaishvatamanu, and Maharaj Ishvaku. All these were great kings and were especially favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If the devotee is not mature, the Supreme Lord will take away all his. Opulence. The principle is stated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yasyam Amogrhanam Hariseta Tanan Sanahai. My first mercy shown to my devotee is to take away all his material opulence. Material opulence detrimental to devotional service is taken away by the Supreme Lord, whereas a person who is mature in devotional service is given all material facilities. Yeah.
Yes.
Good. Detrimental.
So you see how, one can get entangled there.
Yeah. It's not too difficult, is it? It's not too difficult to get entangled in material nature. Boys, you gotta be quiet, please. You there, bro?
Well, actually, the issue that, he was, King Prevarta was also, he was asked to take over the so here you can say in this verses, he refused to, Priyavarta refused to become a householder,
Yep.
You know the story.
I think so.
He was taught by his Guru Narada not to go into householder life,
Oh, that's right. Read about that. Sankshan Prabhu, you want to read? Or you're cooking?
It's cooking, right?
I think I was only supposed at the same time, sorry.
No, you're cooking.
Okay, I can read that. Now, Lord Brahma, the person within the universe, said, My dear Priyavrata, kindly hear attentively what I shall say to you. Do not be jealous of the Supreme Lord who is beyond our experimental measures. All of us, including Lord Shiva, your father, and the great sage Maharaj Narad, must carry out the order supreme. We cannot deviate from his order.
So this is the order of the Lord. Am I saying?
One cannot avoid the order of Supreme Personality of Godhead, not by strength or severe austerities. An exalted Vedic education or power of mystic yoga, physical prowess, or intellectual activities. Nor can one use his power of religion, his material opulence, or any other means, either by himself or with the help of others, to defy the orders of the Supreme Lord. That is not possible for any living being from Brahma down to the end. These are the entities think they can disregard the Lord's rules and regulations of God. Not possible.
Not for my twin.
5117. Even if one goes from the forest to forest, one who is not self-controlled must always fear material bondage, because he is living 6 co-wives. The mind and knowledge-acquiring senses, even householder life, however, cannot harm a self-satisfied, learned man who has conquered his senses. Shilanathan Dashtaka sang Grihiva Vanetti Taki Goranga Balaga. Whether one is situated in the forest or at home, if he is engaged in devotional service of the Lord Chaitanya, he is a liberated person. Here, this is also repeated. For one who has not controlled his senses, going to the forest to become a so-called yogi is meaningless, because his uncontrolled mind and senses are going with him. He cannot achieve anything even by giving up household life and staying in the forest. Formerly, many versatile men in the country of India used to go to Bengal, and thus there is a familiar saying, if you go to Bengal, your fortune will go with you. Our first concern, therefore, should be to control the senses. The senses cannot be controlled unless engaged in devotional service of the Lord. Our most important duty is engage the senses in devotional service. Bhakti means engagement of the purified senses in the service of the Lord. Here in Lord Brahma indicates that instead of going to the forest with uncontrolled senses, it is better and more secure to engage the senses in the service of the Lord. Even household life can do no harm to a self-controlled person acting in this way. It cannot force him to material bondage. Rupa Goswami has further enunciated this position. Regardless of one's circumstances, if one is fully engages his activities, mind, and words in devotional service of the Lord, he should be understood to be a liberated person. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a responsible officer and a householder, yet his service to the cause of expanding the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is unique. Prabhu Hanada Saraswati Thakur says, give me that. The sense organs are certainly our greatest enemy. They are therefore compared to venomous serpents. However, if a venomous serpent is bereft of its poisonous fangs, it is no longer fearful. Similarly, if the senses are engaged in the service of the Lord, there is no need to fear their activities. The devotees in the Krishna conscious movement move within this material world, but because their senses are fully engaged in the service of the Lord, they are always aloof to the material world. They are always living in the transcendental position. One who is situated in household life and who systematically conquers his mind and 5 sense organs is like a king in the fortress who conquers his powerful enemies. After one has been trained in the household life and his lusty desires have decreased, he can move anywhere without danger. The Vedic system of our Varnas and 4 ashrams is very scientific, and its entire purpose is to enable one to control the senses. Before entering household life, Gṛhasthas ashram, a student is fully trained to become Jitendriya, a conqueror of the senses. Such a mature student is allowed to become a householder. Because he is first trained in conquering his senses, he retires from household life and becomes Vanaprastha. And as soon as the strong ways of youthful life are past and reaches a very old age of 50 years or slightly more, then after being further trained, he accepts sannyas. He is then a fully learned and renounced person who can move anywhere and everywhere without fear of being captivated by material desires. The senses are considered very powerful enemies. As a king and a strong fortress can conquer powerful enemies, so household in Gṛhasthas ashram, household life, and conquer the lust desires of youth, and be very secure when he takes vanaprastha and sannyas. There you go, it's all there. Lord Brahma continued, my dear Priyavrata, seek shelter inside the opening in the lotus feet of the Lord, whose navel is like a lotus. Thus conquer the six sense organs, the mind and knowledge acquiring senses. Accept material enjoyment because the Lord extraordinarily has ordered you to do this. You will thus always be liberated from material association and be able to carry out the Lord's orders in your constitutional position. There are three kinds of men within this material world. Those who are trying to enjoy the senses to the utmost are called karmis. Above them are the jnanis who try to conquer the urges of the senses, and above them are the yogis who have already conquered the senses. None of them, however, are situated in the transcendental position. Only devotees who belong to the name of the above-mentioned groups are transcendental, as explained in Bhagavad Gita 14:26. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus becomes on the level of Brahman. Lord Brahma herein advises Priyavrata to remain transcendental in the fortress not only not of feminine life but all of the lotus feet of the Lord. When a bumblebee enters the opening of a lotus flower and drinks its honey, it is fully protected by the petals of the lotus. The bee is undisturbed by the sunshine and other external influences. Similarly, one who always seeks shelter at the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead is protected from all dangers. It is therefore said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, when I've taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, everything becomes easier. Indeed, everything, even crossing the great ocean of nescience, is exactly like crossing the hoofprint created by a calf. Vasapadam. For such a devotee, there is no question of remaining in a place where every step is dangerous. Our actual duty is to carry out the supreme order of the personality of Godhead. If we have fixed now our determination to carry out the supreme order of the Lord, we are always secure, regardless of where we are situated, whether in hell or in heaven. Here in the words Prakritam Bhajasva are very significant. Prakritim refers to one's constitutional position. Every living entity has a constitutional position of being an eternal servant of God. Therefore, Lord Brahma advised Priyavrata be situated in your original position as an eternal servant of the Lord. If you carry out his orders, you will never you have to go up through. Oh, yeah. You will never fall even in the midst of material enjoyment. Material enjoyment achieved by the dint of one's spiritual activities differs from material enjoyment given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A devotee sometimes appears to be in a very opulent position, but he accepts a position to follow the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, devotee is never affected by material influences. Devotees' Krishna-conscious movement are preaching all over the world in accordance with the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They had to meet many karmis, but by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they were unaffected by material influences. He has blessed them as described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita 7:129. Kabuna Bahibe Tamara Vishya Taram Punarapi. Sincere devotee who engages in the service of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by preaching his cult all over the world will never be affected by Vishayatara, material influences. On the contrary, in due course of time he will return to the shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and thus will have perpetual association with him.
So you see, this is the order of the Lord. So when we do anything with the order of the Lord, then we are protected,
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
We're only protected if we sincerely engage in service. Or
Yeah.
Chaitanya.
See, that's also, this point is also elaborated here. Not only it is a difficult ashram, but this part of the Bhagavatam.
Do you want us to read that one, Prabhu?
Yeah, please read.
A householder should comfortably maintain his dependence either with money that comes of his own accord or with that gathered by honest execution of one's duties. According to one's means, one should perform sacrifices and other religious ceremonies. A householder taking care of many dependent family members should not become materially attached to them, nor should he become mentally unbalanced, considering himself to be the Lord. An intelligent householder should see that all possible future happiness, just like that which he has already experienced, is temporary. The association of children, wife, relatives, and friends is just like the brief meeting of travelers. With each change of body, one is separated from all such associates, just as one loses the objects one possesses in a dream when the dream is over. Deeply considering the actual situation, a literary soul should live at home just like a guest, without any sense of proprietorship or false ego. In this way, he will not be bound or entangled by domestic affairs. A householder devotee who worships me by executing family duty may remain at home, go to a holy place, or, if he has a responsible son, take sannyas. But a householder whose mind is attached to his home and who is thus disturbed by ardent desires to enjoy his money and children, who is lusty after women, who is possessed of a miserly mentality, and who unintelligently thinks everything is mine and I am everything, is certainly bound in illusion. Oh, my poor elderly parents, and my wife with a mere infant in her arms, and my other young children. Without me, there is absolutely no one to protect them and will suffer unbearably. How can my poor relatives possibly live without me? Thus, because of his foolish mentality, a householder whose heart is overwhelmed by family attachment is never satisfied. Constantly meditating on his relatives, he dies and enters into the darkness of ignorance.
So you see, there's two aspects of householder life. One, to accept it as a service of the Lord, as ordered by the Lord, and another to get completely overwhelmed by it. So the devotees be very careful to live. Of course, they always have Krishna in the center. So even though it is very entangling, but because they have Krishna, so there is a saving grace. It is also said by Narada Muni. Narada Muni was speaking to Yudhishthira Maharaj, So Yudhishthira, even though he's an householder, serving the Lord.
Maharaj usually.
I'm trying to get this verse for you.
Okay.
Even though he is a householder, I think it's you can't find it. 17, chapter 7:15, Even though he's a householder.
Okay. Aw.
Sit down. Actually, don't you pull that again, buddy? Sorry, Thai kids, very loud.
Yeah, it's here. So let us read this section here also. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, we get this as well.
When one understands the result and cause are one, and that duality is ultimately unreal, like the idea that it's the threads of a cloth are different from the cloth itself. One reaches conception of oneness called Bhava-dvaita. What do you use here? When all activities are when all activities one performs with his mind, words, and body are dedicated directly to the service of the Supreme Personality Godhead, one reaches oneness of activity called Kriya-dvaita. The Krishna conscious movement is teaching people how to come to the stage of dedicating everything to the service of the Supreme Personality Godhead. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, my son and Kunti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer, and give away as well as all austerities that you may perform should be done as an offering unto me. If whatever we do, whatever we eat, whatever we think, and whatever we plan is for the advancement of Krishna conscious movement, this is oneness. There is no difference between chanting for the Krishna conscious and working for Krishna consciousness. On the transcendental platform, they are one, but we must be guided by the spiritual master about this oneness. We should not manufacture our own oneness. And the ultimate goal and interests of oneself, one's wife, one's children, one's relatives, and all other embodied living beings is one. This is called Dvaita, or oneness of interest. The actual interest of all living entities, indeed the goal of life, is to return home, back to Godhead. This is the interest of one's own self, one's wife, one's children, one's disciples, and one's friends, relatives, countrymen, and all humanity. The Krishna conscious movement can give directions for management by which everyone can partake in Krishna conscious activities and reach the ultimate goal, which is known as Swata Gati. This objective of everyone's interest is Vishnu, but because people do not know this, Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.31, they are making various plans by which to fulfill so many contrasting interests in life. The Krishna conscious movement is trying to bring everyone to the highest interest. The process may be differently named, but if the aim is one, people should follow it to achieve the ultimate goal of life. Unfortunately, people are thinking of different interests, and blind leaders are misleading them. Everyone is trying to reach the goal of complete happiness materially, because people do not know what the complete happiness is, and materially are diverted towards different interests. In normal condition, in the absence of danger, O King Yudhishthira, a man should perform his prescribed activities according to his status of life with the things, endeavors, process, and living palace that are not forbidden for him, and not by any other means. The instruction given for men in all statuses of life, generally society is divided into Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Sudras, Brahmacharis, and Vanapras, Sannyas, and Gṛhasthas. Everyone must act according to his position and try to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That will make one's life successful. This was instructed by Namasaranya, in Namasaranya. The best among the twice born is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging his prescribed duties, dharma, according to caste divisions and ordered life, is to please Lord Hari. Srimad Bhagavatam 1-13. Everyone should act according to his occupational duties just to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and everyone will be happy. O King, one should perform his occupational duties according to these instructions, as well as other instructions given in the Vedic literature, just to remain a devotee of Lord Krishna. Thus, even while at home, one will be able to reach the destination. The ultimate goal of life is Vishnu Krishna. Therefore, either by Vedic regulation principles or by materialistic activities, if one tries to reach the destination of Krishna, that is the perfection of life. Krishna should be the target. Everyone should try to reach Krishna from any position of life. Krishna accepts service from anyone. The Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita 9.32. Vasana Prita, those who take shelter in me, though they are of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, as well as Sudras, can approach the supreme destination. It does not matter what one's position is, if one aims at reaching Krishna by performing his occupational duty under the direction of the spiritual master, his life is successful. It is not that only sannyasis, vanapras, and brahmacharis can reach Krishna. A Gṛhasthas, a householder, can also reach Krishna, provided he becomes a pure devotee without material desires. As an example of this is cited in the next verse. O King Yudhishthira, because your service to the Supreme Lord, all of you Pandavas, defeated the greatest dangers posed by numerous kings and demigods, by serving the lotus feet of Krishna. You conquered the great enemies who were like elephants, and thus you collected ingredients for sacrifice. By his grace, you may be delivered from the material involvement. Placing himself as an ordinary householder, Maharaj Yudhishthira inquired from Narad Muni how Griha Mudhadi, a person who is entangled in household life and thus continues to remain a fool, can be delivered. Narad Muni encouraged Maharaj Yudhishthira by saying, you are already on the safe side because you, along with your entire family, have become a pure devotee of Krishna. By Krishna's grace, the Pandavas conquered in the battle. The Pandavas conquered in the battle of Kurukshetra and were saved from many dangers posed not only by the kings, but sometimes even by the demigods. Thus they are practical. Thus they are practical example of how to live in security and safety by the grace of Krishna. Everyone should follow the example of the Pandavas, who showed how to be saved by the grace of Krishna. Our Krishna conscious movement is intended to teach how everyone can live peacefully in the material world and at the end of life return home back to Godhead. In the material world, there are always dangers at every step. Padam padanya vidham na tesham 10:14:58. Nonetheless, it takes the shelter of Krishna. If one takes the shelter of Krishna without hesitation and keeps under the shelter of Krishna, he can easily cross the ocean of nescience. To the devotee, this great ocean of nescience becomes like a puddle of water in the hoofprint of the cow. A pure devotee, without embarrassing himself by trying for elevation in so many ways, stays in a steadfast position as a servant of Krishna, and thus his life is eternally safe without a doubt.
So I think I have tried my best to explain how a householder is also, not at a disadvantaged position.
Yeah.
He can also make it back home, back to God, provided you keep Krishna in the center,
Mm.
Because last week we explained how to always keep that by having a strong program in the morning.
Yes, Guru.
If we do this, then I don't think we should have any problem. There's no difference with an householder, a brahmachari, or grahastha, vanaprastha, or sannyas. The same. As long as we keep Krishna in the center.
Exactly.
But without Krishna, then everything would become messed up. No? Even for a sannyasi or brahmachari or anybody, the central point is Krishna.
Yeah.
That should be understood. What's the use of being a brahmachari and not Krishna conscious? Better to be a householder and be Krishna conscious. Yes?
Yep.
Krishna says, one who is always meditating on the sense object is a thief, in the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah?
Sorry, Guru.
The Bhagavad Gita, pretender, no?
Mm. I don't know that one. Remember.
Spelling. Read.
Eh?
10.
Sorry.
3, 6. Yeah, I can see in this verse.
Waiting. 3:6.
Karmendriyani samyamya ya aste manasya smaran indriyartan vimudatma mithyachara sauchyate.
1:3. One who restrains his senses of action, but whose mind dwells in the sense objects and deludes himself and is called a pretender. Yeah. There's so many pretenders who refuse to work in Krishna consciousness but make a show of meditation, while actually dwelling the mind upon sense enjoyment. Such pretenders may also speak on dry philosophy in order to bluff sophisticated followers. According to this verse, there are greatest cheaters. For sense enjoyment, one can act in any capacity of the social order, but if one follows the rules and regulations of his particular status, he can make gradual progress in purifying his existence. But he who makes a show of being a yogi while actually searching for the objects of sense gratification must be called the greatest cheater, even though Where are we? Even though he sometimes speaks of philosophy, his knowledge has no value because the effects of such a sinful man's knowledge are taken away by the illusory energy of the Lord. Such a pretender's mind is always impure, and therefore his show of yogic meditation has no value whatsoever.
Yastva indriyani manasya niyamyarbhate chuna karmendriya karma yogam ashakta sa vishishyate.
On the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the activities, so active senses by the mind, and begins karma yoga and Krishna consciousness without attachment, he is by far superior. Instead of becoming a pseudo-transcendentalist for the sake of wanton living and sense enjoyment, I remember this verse when I first joined. I've read this one. I always remember this verse.
So again, she's reminding you.
Yeah. Instead of becoming a pseudo-transcendentalist for the sake of wanton living and sense enjoyment, it is far better to remain in one's own business and execute the purpose of life, which is to get free from the material bondage and enter into the kingdom of God. The prime svahagati, or the goal of self-interest, is to reach Vishnu. The whole institution of Varna and Ashram is designed to help us reach this goal of life. Our household life can also reach destination by regulated service in Krishna consciousness. For self-realization, one can live in a controlled life as prescribed in the sastras, and continue carrying out his business without attachment, and in the way make progress. A sincere person who follows this method is far better situated than a false pretender who adopts show bottle spiritism to cheat the innocent public. A sincere sweeper in the street is far better than the charlatan meditator who meditates only for the sake of making a living.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, definitely remember that one. Nice verse.
I think this class is very good for all the householders.
Yeah. you bringing out some nice key verses there, Prabhu.
Best encourage all of you. Always we are bashing the householders, but this class is very much encouraging.
Yeah. That's nice.
This is important too, how to live in Krishna consciousness. Because the thing is this, we cannot, control the senses, but that does not mean that we become, what we say, a little bit despondent. I think this is the verse. Let me check. Yeah, this is the one. This is how it should be,
Wait a second. Having awakened faith in narrations of my glories and being disgusted with all material activities, knowing that all sense gratification leads to misery, but still being unable to renounce all sense enjoyment, my devotee should remain happy and worship me with great faith and conviction. Even though he is sometimes engaged in sense enjoyment, my devotee knows that all sense gratification leads to a miserable result, and he sincerely repents such activities.
Sincerely repents such activities.
Mm.
So it's a fact, sometimes, but we should just carry on, until Krishna makes some other arrangement.
Mm.
So I have taken a lot of your time. I'm sorry.
No, we make time for your time, Prabhu.
How do you
It's the only
like
way we can,
us?
it's the only way we can keep steadfast in Krishna consciousness.
Yeah,
Association.
together we hear, like that it is said, this verse we quote so many times,
11:3:30.
Yeah, you know this one I quote many times.
Yeah. One learn how to associate with devotees of the Lord by gathering with them to chant the glories of the Lord. This process is most purifying. As devotees thus develop their loving friendship, they feel mutual happiness and satisfaction. And thus by encouraging one another, they are able to give up material sense gratification, which is a cause of all sufferings. Sense gratification.
Yes?
Mm.
It's also quoted many times in the
25:20. Yeah, I remember this one.
Arinu. Shatam prasangam mama vidya samvido bhavanti hirkarna rashayana kataha jadyosanarasva pavargamatmani sadarati bhakti anukramishati. It's quoted many times even in the CC, you know.
An association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and therefore he is freed, and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin.
So, you know, there's another verse I want to show. It's a very important verse. I think it is here. I'm sorry. Give me a minute there.
Yeah.
Here.
Whenever pure topics of the transcendental world are discussed, the members of the audience forget all kinds of material hankerings, at least for the time being. Not only that, but they are no longer envious of one another, nor do they suffer from anxiety or fear. Yeah, we quoted that last week, I think. 4:30:35. Vaikuntha means without anxiety, and the material world means full of anxiety. As stated by Prahlad Maharaj, Sada Sam Udvingadiham Ashun Grahat 755. The living entities who accepted this material world as residents are full of anxiety. A place immediately becomes Vaikuntha whenever the holy topics of personality Godhead are discussed by pure devotees. This is the process of Shravana and Kirtana Vishnu. 7523. Chanting and hearing about the Supreme Lord Vishnu, as Supreme Lord himself confirms. Naham ishtam vagunte yoginam hrideshriva yatra gayantri mad bhakta tatra tishami narada. My dear Narad, actually I do not reside in all my abode, Vaikuntha, nor do I reside within the heart of the yogis, but I reside in the place where my pure devotees chant my holy name and discuss my form, pastimes, and qualities. Because of these present of the Lord in the form of transcendental vibration, the Vaikuntha atmosphere is evoked. This atmosphere is without fear and anxiety. One living entity does not fear another. By hearing the holy names and glories of the Lord, a person executes pious activities. Thus his material hankerings immediately stop. The Sankirtan movement started by the Society for Krishna Consciousness is meant for creating Vaikuntha, the transcendental world that is without anxiety, even in this material world. The method is a propagation of the Shravanam Kirtanam process throughout the world. In this material world, everyone is envious of his fellow man. And animalistic envy exists in human society as long as there is no performance of Sankirtan Yagya, the chanting the holy names Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. The Pachetas, is that right? Pachetas. Therefore decide to remain always in the society of devotees, and they are considered that to be the highest benediction possible in human life.
See, this is the process. As long as you are in contact with Krishna, then everything becomes, perfect.
Yeah.
You know.
30. Supreme Lord Narayan is present among devotees who engage in hearing and chanting the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Narayan is the ultimate goal of sannyas, those in the renounced order of life, and Narayan is worshipped through the Sankirtan movement by those who are liberated from material contamination. Indeed, they recite the holy name again and again.
So I guess I'm taking most of your time now, right? Think we will
That's okay.
take rest right now.
Oh, good for us.
So long purport. 37. Dear Lord, your personal associate devotees wander all over the world to purify even the holy places of pilgrimage. Is not such activity pleasing to those who are actually afraid of material existence? Two kinds of devotees, Kostanandi and Bhajanandi. The time you can read the purport, Someone at the door. Hey, Mataji, someone at the door. Dear Lord, by virtue of a moment's association with Lord Shiva, who is very dear to you and who is very most intimate friend, we are fortunate to attend you. You are the most expert physician capable of treating the incurable disease of material existence. On account of a great fortune, even we have been able to take shelter at your lotus feet. So see how, by chanting about Krishna, it is so powerful. So we should just carry on this program that is given by our spiritual master without doubt or hesitation. Go on, and eventually you'll be able to capture a lot who is not be able to capture, the
We know so many verses. So you know so many verses.
because you are here, no, this one all is coming out automatically. I think because of your presence, all of you.
You're right. What's the meter for this one, Prabhu? We always forget the meter.
This one is Jnana Priyasam Mudapasya Mamanteva Jivanti Samukharitam Bhavadiya Vartam Sthane Sthita Suttigatam Tanuvam Manobir He Prayaso Jita Jutopia Sita Strilokyam. That's the meter.
Okay. Record it and try to play it.
You can practice now, very easy. So the answer is here. Those who are even while remaining situated in the established social position throw away the process of speculative knowledge and with their body, words, and mind offer all respect to the description of your personality and activities. Dedicating a life to these narrations which are vibrated by you personally and by your pure devotees. Certainly conquer your lordship, although you are otherwise unconquerable by anyone within the three worlds. It was been quoted many, many times in the CC and the Bhagavatam and by Prabhupada. and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, spoken by Brahma, after he realized he made a big mistake of trying to check with Krishna, stealing the cows, and the boys. So I guess you have anything to add?
Gurumai, any question?
Shankrishan has been quiet today. She's cooking or something.
Oh, I'm concentrating on that and cooking at the same time. Sorry for it. The last two verses I'm very satisfied with. Very nice.
I'm
All
sure
the verses actually.
the sadhana will be overly very pure now, huh?
Yeah, with your association, bro.
No, why not invite, what's his name, the one in New Zealand? You try to call him?
Who's that, Prabhu?
Thomas, huh?
I talked to him a long time ago, but now he's associating with Hanuman, isn't he?
Yeah,
They're
but
trying to.
they don't have a class, supposed to be on Tuesday, so maybe you can ask him to, if you like, he can come on this one.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, definitely.
Just gather people, whoever you like, whoever in Australia, they want to come on, let's come on, no?
Yeah, I mean the people that we have around here are not.
I think the new ones is not so, these topics are not meant for them,
There's a couple that may be here. They're older, but they're really much into the philosophy. I think they might be able to
If you think
understand.
they're okay, then I'm all right. No, but newcomers, they become so bored. No, they see so many verses, their mind gets a bit, groggy.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Better to
And I
teach
think that
them basics. Well,
yeah,
so
there's
I
the
guess
direct doctor.
I recorded this tape, this conversation. I mean, this class. We can play it back. It would be very nice. Can send you the link.
Will do.
So
He's
I
away
thank
in
you
France
again
at the moment. Oh, sorry, Prabhu.
so much for your kind time and your dedication to Prabhupada, pushing on in some very difficult environment and situation. I am certainly taking the dāsa of all your lotus feet.
Please don't.
Please.
Please keep it up.
Hopefully,
I know the tough, but when the tough gets going, when the thing is tough, the tough gets going.
True.
that's true. We're all looking forward to go to Singapore.
Well, it is a little bit, I mean, at least here, the prasadam is overwhelming. There's so much you can't even finish.
Yeah, right.
So
Is
much,
there any restriction?
so much of milk, I mean, so much of sabji.
Any restrictions easing there in Singapore, Prabhu? Are the restrictions getting better or not?
No, it's not getting better. They don't want the Hare Krishnas here at all, period.
Yeah, right.
We are fighting a difficult situation. I think
So
Krishna will make some arrangements.
you still have to stay inside your door and not go anywhere, huh?
Yeah, they are making it difficult for anything, very difficult. But we have, of course, we have to concentrate on the Indians for now. Others are difficult, but we keep trying. You were both all here. You know the situation.
Yeah.
Much more tough. But in Australia, I think it is easier. They don't have that kind of so-called, stipulations and harassment and so many things.
No, it's much easier. Yeah.
So you have to take the challenges. What to do? Everywhere is challenge. Different
Why don't
situation.
you all go all the Singapore, Australia, and be liberated?
That again?
Move to Australia, Prabhu said. Should come to here and set up a temple, and they'll become liberated here. There's so much.
Yeah, set up a temple where again? I didn't get the last line.
In Australia. You should all come to Australia and forget Singapore.
If anything happens, we just have to. But then coming there also another restriction, all problems, Maybe you should try to get that that permit, to see if we can experiment with one person first and see how it goes, no?
The religious visa.
Yeah, but then you have to pay him a salary and all kind of stuff, isn't it?
No,
Ah, no, don't have to.
we just have to support it.
So why
Just have
not
to
try?
support.
Maybe we can try, but now it is impossible because of the virus. We have to wait till things kind of ease up.
We need a permanent place of worship to do that. So we either need to rent a place in town. That's
Hmm.
going to be the that's the first thing we have to do in order to get everything else is set up. Visa. We've got all the right status and all the right
Why
documents. We
don't
just
you do
need.
one thing? If you have a friend, you just get a paper saying that you're renting, but you don't do nothing.
Sorry.
So
You
that we
get
were
a
renting.
paper from someone who just said that you're renting, but you're not actually physically there.
Yep.
That's a good idea.
Just
Yeah,
then
maybe.
to submit. They say, yeah, we are renting and we're going there once a week. What's the problem? You
Do you
understand?
do that?
I don't know if you do it, Tony. It's too strict.
Yeah, it's possible. We can
Just get a
find out.
letter from someone saying that I'm renting, at so much price, and we are using the place once a week or something.
Yeah.
Something you can think about.
Who wants to come here?
I don't know. Maybe it's me.
Maybe.
Maybe I can
Okay,
wash
people.
some pots and clean the floor.
We're high up tomorrow.
If you need a maid, I'll be there, boy.
We need an extra grandfather.
Oh yeah, we need another grandfather here.
I got two here now. Plenty of time.
Okay.
Okay, I think we can think about it, because there are so many people, of course they want to, but of course we want to get a good man, they want to come there and misuse the whole thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
True.
So we
Yeah.
have to know who we say, and the whole India would like to come there for sure, and the whole China also.
Yeah, we get many messages from Indians and Bengalis.
All of them want to get out.
Most of them want to get a job though. Well, for support for families, that makes sense, but
They all want to get to the heavenly world, they think. They
Yeah.
don't know the old thing is as bad as anywhere, but that old age disease is always prevailing.
Yeah.
Once we get land, it'll be a lot easier too,
Yeah, I
because
think
then
so.
somewhere people to
And
stay. You know.
then it's very
Right?
easy, because
You broke up there.
this is another verse that no one in this material world has become free from the four principles of birth, death, old age, disease, age and disease, even by fleeing to the various planets. But now that you have appeared, my Lord, death is fleeing in fear of you. The living entities, having obtained shelter at your lotus feet by your mercy, are sleeping in full mental peace. So you can go anywhere in the world, you cannot become happy unless you get to the lotus feet of the Lord.
Yeah. Very true.
So okay, I guess we will I'll stop the sharing. The recording as well.